I cannot be silent.
Back when Eisenhower was the president, golf courses is where most of his time was spent. So I never really listened to what the president said, because in general I believed that the general was politically dead. But he always seemed to know when the muscles were about to be flexed, because I remember him saying something, mumbling something about a military-industrial complex.
As I have walked among the desperate, rejected, and angry young men, I have told them that Molotov cocktails and rifles would not solve their problems. I have tried to offer them my deepest compassion while maintaining my conviction that social change comes most meaningfully through nonviolent action. But they ask, and rightly so, what about Vietnam? They ask if our home nation wasn't using massive doses of violence to solve its problem, to bring about the changes it wanted. Their questions hit home, and I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government. For the sake of those boys, for the sake of this government, for the sake of the hundreds of thousands trembling under our violence, I cannot be silent.
Each one reach one, each one time.
I cannot be silent.
Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Everyone must play a part. Everyone's got to go to work. Work for peace. Spirit say work.
I cannot be silent.
Empowering the body, mind, and spirit. This is We Cannot Be Silent with Phil Restino and Larry Pinkney.
This is Phil Restino with We Cannot Be Silent, and I'm co-hosting the show tonight with my partner Larry Pinkney, columnist for the Black Commentator and Intrepid Report. Larry, are you there?
I am indeed. How are you, my brother? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Same old, man. If you don't mind, Larry, I'd like to make mention a few things out of your recent column with the Intrepid Report, intrepidreport.com. And this past week's column, you entitled the piece, "The Vicious Walking U.S. Zombie." You come up with some great titles. But you point out what's going on, and you point out things very clearly, the whole hypocrisy of the left and the right, and the whole fraud of the left-right paradigm, which keeps we the people powerless against the powers that are hurting us all. And then you always seem to follow it up towards the end of your piece with an action, a suggested action. It's not just a critique, but you supply us with suggested action to go ahead and for some kind of remedy. And I'd like to read the one paragraph here, parts of it. "Only the everyday ordinary people of the United States can internally rein in this U.S. empire. But whether or not the people of this nation awaken en masse from their systemically induced and perpetuated state of political slumber, the peoples of the rest of Mother Earth are awakening and resisting the U.S. empire." But here's the key part here. "Nevertheless, if the ordinary people of this nation do not soon act to put a stop to this U.S. empire's insanity, there is the very real probability that this planet will be plunged into nuclear holocaust." And that's not an overstatement, Larry. I mean, if people have been paying attention on what's going on around the world and what we're doing militarily, this is all too real. And I was hoping that you might be able to expand on this. You know, my answer to this whole thing is that the people ourselves have to begin a public call for accountability, regardless of what political party is being represented in Washington D.C. in the White House. And I say we reinvoke the constitutional remedy of impeachment. But I wanted to ask you, Larry, to talk a little bit about this particular piece here, and maybe I'll chime in a little bit.
Okay. Well, again, the article that Phil just referred to is from Intrepid Report. So this intrepidreport.com, and the name of the article, as Phil already mentioned, the name of the article itself is entitled "The Vicious Walking U.S. Zombie." So just Google that and it'll come up. Now, to move on or move back into what Phil is talking about and has been talking about, is that we are in a situation today where if we do not, we the people, ordinary, everyday, black, white, brown, red, yellow people, everyday, ordinary people, if we do not act in a united, collective fashion, you know what? Our butts are grass. And it does not have to be that way. It is time for us to understand that politically, economically, and socially, we are being trampled. But it does not have to be that way. Now, the reason I mentioned in the piece where I said that we are heading towards nuclear holocaust if we do not act, let me give some examples. The U.S. empire, the United States, and it is an empire, folks. It's not that you benefit from the empire. I don't benefit from the empire. The only people who benefit from the empire are quite mad. They're quite insane. They're frankly, they're psychopaths. They're greedy, blood-sucking psychopaths. And if they could think it through, they would realize that ultimately what this is going to mean is the destruction of our planet, the destruction of Mother Earth. For example, the U.S. is now engaged militarily in trying to set up missile bases around Russia. Now, how stupid is that? Do they really think the Russians are going to sit back and allow them to simply set up bases in other countries which are their neighboring countries? What would the U.S. do if Russia or Nicaragua or any other country or China, any other country said, you know what, we're going to set up we're going to set up missile bases next door in Canada, next door in Mexico? Why the U.S. would not tolerate that, and this is it would be insane. But that's precisely what the United States is doing or attempting to do in Eastern Europe. Now, this is what I mean by nuclear holocaust. Okay, another example: the United States is now sending large portions of its naval fleet to the Pacific region. Why? To try to encircle militarily who? China. Now, not only does this make bad military sense, it makes it is totally insane when one thinks about economically who owns the U.S. debt. Hey, folks, it's China. Economically, it is madness. It is absolute insanity. And what the U.S. is trying to do under this colored emperor named Barack Obama, what the U.S. is trying to do is basically recolonize the entire world. And we cannot, and that includes us, folks. That's not just folks in other countries. Look at the trillions and trillions and trillions. Last count, it was between 13 and 14 trillion dollars that have been literally stolen from everyday ordinary people in this nation and given to the corporations, the elite of the corporations, who walk around making 6- and 7-figure salaries. For what? For being the best bloodsuckers they can be. And whose blood are they sucking? They are sucking the economic lifeblood of you and me and everyday, ordinary black, white, brown, red, and yellow people. This is insane, both internally, as I mentioned in the article, internally within the United States itself, and externally what the so-called commander-in-chief, I refer to him more as the commander-in-thief, Mr. Hope and Change, Predator Drone Missile President Barack Obama, is doing. And he's doing it to us, not just the rest of the world, but to us. Not that it would be acceptable if it was only the rest of the world. But folks, what goes around comes around. And as Phil just pointed out so eloquently, the fact of the matter is that we need to put a stop to this. Stop it. We need to put a stop to this, and it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. The reality is they're just different sides of the same coin. We need to use an entirely different coin. Why don't we call that coin C-O-I-N? Why don't we call that coin the people's coin? We need our own coin. So I'm going to stop right there for a minute, Phil, and shoot it back to you, my brother.
Thank you, Larry. And that last statement you made about the coin, the people's coin, that could lead to any number of discussions, and I'm so thankful to this alternative media to learn about money, the issuance of money and all that, and how it controls almost everything. What was that quote from the Rothschild? Give me the power to issue a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. And and it. You talk about, Larry, in your columns and when you're on different radio programs about the need for us to connect the issues and connect the dots. And
right.
If, this whole thing with the Federal Reserve and banking and it's directly connected to these wars of aggression, to home foreclosures, to jobs being offshored. It's all related, and I think that is, there's that old rule of thumb, follow the money. And I think whatever your issue is out there, I say look into this Federal Reserve issue as well, and the issuance of money, and see how it relates to your issue out there, folks listening. You mentioned our first black president, Larry. I want to go back to your piece, The Vicious Walking U.S. Zombie, in Intrepid Report, to what kind of change have we supposedly gotten here? Well, let's look what has happened since Obama's come in office. And for after all, he is the first black president, chief executive of the U.S. empire, as if that absolves him of all responsibility, accountability, and morality. In less than 4 years later, he has adroitly facilitated trillions of dollars to the corporate Wall Street elite robber barons. 2, removed the option of single-payer health care. 3, intensified the use of Predator drone missiles against sovereign nations. And each one, Larry, by the way, is an act of war, I would think, when you just fly over a nation and start bombing it and killing people. That's in the past, that was considered an act of war. But I digress. 4, kept the U.S. gulag and torture chamber of Guantanamo open and in operation. 5, extended and broadened the unconstitutional Patriot Act. 6, signed into law the draconian NDAA of 2012. That was New Year's Eve, Larry, when everybody's out.
Did it on New Year's That's right. New Year's Eve on 2011, that's December 31st, 2011, he signed it into law. Go ahead, Phil.
Yep, and we've got 10 items here, folks. And if you haven't heard about the 2012 NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, I highly recommend you start looking into that and what it entails for us. 7, bombed and increased the militarization of Africa. We could talk some more about that, Larry. 8, further militarily destabilize the Middle East. 9, seeks to control and corral parts of Eastern Europe and Asia, causing dangerous tensions with Russia and China. And 10, granted to himself the immoral authority of a kill list, with the power to murder at will and without trial, jury, or legal defense, any that he deems to be a threat, real or imagined, to the U.S. international imperialistic designs of the U.S. empire. And that's amazing.
Well, I mean, those 10 things, I cited those 10 things because I'm sick and tired of people saying, what has Obama done? I think it's time to list what he's done and to list it honestly and clearly. And what he's done is he's plunged us closer and closer. First of all, he's robbed us. Okay, he has robbed us. Mr. Hope and Change, who I also refer to as Mr. Dope and Rope, Hope and Change my tutu, as in Desmond. The reality is that this man is a fraud, but he represents a system that is also fraudulent. The banking system is fraudulent. The Federal Reserve System is fraudulent. The corporations are fraud. These huge corporations that engage in what I refer to constantly as economic blood-sucking. These are frauds. And this government is what I refer to as a self-legitimized criminal syndicate built upon what? Controlling, manipulating, distracting, and dividing everyday people. Wake up! Come on! We don't need to be rocket scientists to see this. We see it. Now that we see it, the question is, what are we going to do about it? And there are lots of things that we can, should, and must do about it. One of the things is what we're doing right now. We're discussing it. We're talking about it. We're finding out that there are lots of people in this nation and throughout the world, but more particularly right now in this nation, there are lots of people who are thinking just like us. You know, so that's one thing, communication. The last thing, the state left-right, right-left paradigm, and that's what they like to do, Democrats and Republicans. They're nothing but foxes and wolves, and all they want to do is eat you politically, economically, and socially. You know, to depend on them to be your quote-unquote savior is ridiculous. We, the people, have to be our own savior. Don't go to the fox and expect the fox to tell you who ate the chickens, because the fox is going to rub his stomach, lick his lips, and say, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, you know, think about it. Anyway, back to you, Phil.
Well, and this is it, Larry. And you know something, Larry? 4 years, whenever this 4-year term is over, and if it's not Obama the next time around and it's someone else, we'll be having the same conversation, because
right.
this insanity, this lawlessness, this tyranny, this crumbling of empire, the path that we're on does not change with a Democrat replacing a Republican, or a Republican replacing a Democrat, and on. If we just look at the track record here, it does change. It gets worse with each and every successive
That's right.
administration. And
that's right.
And you know, and the mechanism in place that keeps the 330 million of us powerless against, this handful of wrinkly old white dudes, running this enterprise.
And females. It's not just dudes, but go ahead.
Is this loyalty to one party or another, and being conditioned to think that the other party is the problem, our neighbor is the problem, and we've got to pull out of this, and until we do, it's just going to continue to get worse. And man, how bad does it got to get? I mean, we've got real unemployment of between 20 and 25%, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 people, you can only put, sooner or later, this dollar is, we've got real inflation. If anyone goes to the grocery, you know what that's about. And it's just, we got chemtrails in the sky. You look up and there's this white streaks of chemicals they're dropping on us every day. 1 out of 3 people get cancer. We're for me, my big issue, Larry, is these wars. We're slaughtering people. Slaughtering people. Just like us, they're just people. Their only crime is living in the country that these maniacs who've got control of our military want to go invade and bomb and rape. And it's not going to stop until we, the people, give up this false left-right divide, thinking that, I'm always pushing for the need for us to call for the impeachment of this war criminal Obama. And this is nothing new, Larry. I joined Veterans for Peace in 2005 after hearing this fella, Mike Ferner, who served in different positions in the national office over the years, give a speech in Washington, D.C. on June 16, 2005, pointing out Bush's crimes, of illegal invasions, lying to start the war, torture, everything that Obama continues to do.
And
yeah, man. And what got me was I looked at these guys and I said, man, these guys are veterans, and they're actually answering the call here at home. These guys are already served, and now look at them. They're stepping up, doing the right thing. And I was not a war veteran. I didn't come of age until after Vietnam. I'm a peacetime veteran. I phoned them up and asked, is there anything I can do? And they said, yes, as long as you're a military veteran of any era and any time, peacetime service or not, you're welcome to join. And it was their speech, this fellow Mike Ferner's speech, waving the Constitution up in the air and saying, we took an oath to this Constitution. As Americans, it's our responsibility to call for the impeachment of this criminal president who's slaughtering people in our name. And
he
not
was
only
talking
is
about George W. Bush.
He was
talking about Bush.
Yes. And thank you for clarifying that. And I'm listening to this man. And he said, not only as Americans is it our responsibility, but as military veterans who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, it's our duty to no less call for the impeachment of this president for doing these crimes. And I'll tell you what, man, because the Democrat got in and took office 20 January 2009, and 3 days into office starts sending those drones into Pakistan and killing a bunch of people there. Right then and there, that fella should have been given the same speech, or whoever was the representative of Veterans for Peace at the time. And here we are, how many years later? And you know what the answer is whenever I confront them on this lack of consistency and in a call for accountability? Well,
it's not only, wait a minute, Phil, just a moment. It's not only a lack of consistency. It is definitely a lack of consistency, my brother, but it is also a lack of principle.
yes.
It's a lack of principle, but go ahead, please.
Their answer? Well,
What's their answer?
what do you want? Do you want the Republicans to come in? They'll be worse. That's
Yeah,
the
we
answer.
have, and the reality is that we have the Republicans in. When we have the Democrats in, we have the Republicans in. When we have the Republicans in, we have the Democrats in. Wake up! Wake up! Come on! The bottom line, Phil, but I had to interject because I feel very passionate, as do you, about this. You know, no principles. No principles. Oh, well, the bad Republicans. The bad Republicans are the same as the bad Democrats. It's time for the people to take power. The people. But go ahead. I interjected. I apologize.
Exactly. No, we're on this theme together here, and it will be worse, but not because the other team will get in. It's worse. Right. Regardless of which team gets in, and the powers that be count on that.
That's right.
Or they know that they can get away with that because we're divided on party. The people are divided with this loyalty to party, and until the people are consistent in the application of calls for accountability, these powers that be are protected by this voluntary loyalty on the part of the people, partisan loyalty.
Let's say it for what it really is. It's voluntary slavery. Come on, let's just say it. It's voluntary slavery, because the fact of the matter is as long as the people are loyal to a party, they are slaves. It is time to stop being loyal to a party and be loyal to another P, as in the letter P, and that P stands for people. Be loyal to the people. Be loyal to everyday, ordinary people. The parties be damned, okay, because they're bloodsuckers, and they have consistently demonstrated that they're bloodsuckers. The parties be damned. What they're saying, whether it's Democrat or Republican, just like Obama is saying demonstratively through his actions, what he is saying, and as I said in the article that we've been talking about, as I said in that article, what he is saying is the people be damned. And what we, the people, have to say is, oh, no, the people will not be damned. You will be relegated. You and your party, same coin, different side of the same coin, will be relegated to the dustbin of history, because we need to save ourselves and save our planet, save Mother Earth.
Yes.
Go ahead, Phil.
No, you're right on, Larry. And we're doing it to ourselves. We are the answer, the only answer, and I guess we just have to keep working at this, man. There's so few of us who are coming together. The UnitedWeStrike.com has been a godsend, and I'm glad it's developed into these marathon radio programs. This alternative media that allows for the pursuit of truth unabated. Is a godsend. We've got to keep at it. It's not happening fast enough for my liking, Larry. But we've got to bring people together on common ground. And like you say, Larry, all the time, you know, if somebody tells you that they agree 100% with each other, one of them is lying.
That's right. If I agree 100% with you, or you agree 100% with me on every issue all the time, one of us is a damn liar. Okay?
Yes.
We don't want liars, and we don't want robots. What we do need is we need each other to do exactly what you said, which is to what? To come together around common issues, common concerns, common needs, common dreams, common hopes, okay? And not this phony, fraudulent hope and change nonsense that Barack Obama talked about and continues to push on his subliminal level, and not this phony left-right paradigm. Since you've spoken of the veterans who have had the guts, though, you're still working at trying to get them to be principled, and I salute you and applaud you for that, Phil, brother, because I know how difficult it is. Speaking from someone who came out of the left myself, I know how difficult it is to get the so-called left in this country to be principled. They don't want to, they dare not, so-called left and so-called progressives, they dare not be honest. They dare not be principled. Oh, no, not Obama, not Obama. Yes, it's Obama, and he's taken what G.W. Bush did to another level, a worse level, a more intensified level, a bloodier level. And he's sticking it to the people in this country and to ordinary, everyday people around the world. And they need to be honest with themselves, stop playing this silly game and this dangerous game of refusing to, refusing to call a duck a duck. If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, looks like a duck, then damn it is a duck. Okay, and the fact of the matter is that the so-called left out here, these so-called progressives, need to stop playing this fraudulent game. They need to stop being hypocritical. That's right, hypocrites. Stop it.
Yes, and the reason why we're talking about this, the left now is, and the double standards is right now it's a Democrat in that role, and he's doing only what anyone else in that position would be charged to do by the people that run things. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. And the next one who gets in, he'll have his marching orders, and he or she. But right now, we've got a chance as a people to stop the madness. We've got a chance here. If the left, and the ball is in the left's hands, why doesn't, we can always say point fingers at the right, the Tea Party this, the Tea Party, no. This, right now, we've got an insane war criminal that can now assassinate Americans and has done so on his say-so. If the left simply made a public call, just like this fella Mike Ferner of Veterans for Peace did down there in Washington in 2005, and successive Veterans for Peace presidents and national spokespeople after that for years make the righteous public call for impeachment, the people's remedy for an out-of-control presidency. If they simply just voiced it. Now, there's a big difference between making a public call for it. That's all we're asking. We're not even going to go there as far as, it'll never happen, this Congress is corrupt and blah, blah, blah. This is about the people, and the people are the answer here. And until we change, nothing changes. And it has to be adherence to principle here. And once the left makes this call on the Democrat, then we got a chance. Otherwise, it's the same as it's always been, and then some. And so that's the emphasis on that we have here on the left and their hypocrisy, because the right is just as hypocritical too. I mean, look at George Bush doing his thing. Of
course, but that's the thing. That's the thing, Phil. That's why you and I call it the phony, fake, fraudulent right-left paradigm. Because they're both just as disgusting, just as sick, just as despicable, just as bloody, okay? But right now, and I want to reiterate in my own words, my own terminology, what you just said, and that has to do with the thing about impeachment. It's not about the act of impeachment. It is about calling for impeachment. Why? What's the difference? The difference is huge. The difference is by calling for impeachment, you have to back up why you are calling for impeachment. And what does that mean? That means you point out the despicable things, the despicable actions, like the NDAA, okay, like the kill list that Obama has assigned to himself. Like, there are 10 things listed in the article that you and I were discussing earlier. They're all there. It means that we need to get this information out, and we need to tell all the people, including our young people, don't let them get sucked into this phony, fake, fraudulent, left-right paradigm in this nation, because it's phony, it's fraudulent. It's got to be about we, the people. And it's so simple. It's so basic. One does not have to be a clairvoyant or a rocket scientist or a physicist to understand this very simple principle. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And by the way, I'm quoting the words of Malcolm X, who said, right is right and wrong is wrong no matter who says it or who does it.
Yes. And these crimes are the same crimes. We're citing the same crimes that the left was shouting and screaming from the rooftops about, and I believe we've got to keep it just to that, otherwise the partisanship play can come back in again, but like you said, and then point out the NDAA and all that. You mentioned the Veterans for Peace impeachment. I've been involved with Veterans for Peace since 2005, actually, Larry, it was because of your article last summer, July of 2011, making the case for impeaching Obama, not on other issues that were being brought up by the opposition party, but for the very same crimes cited in the previous calls for impeaching Bush. And when I read that piece, I had to reach out to you. It was on the Black Commentator in July 21, I believe, of 2011. Is it time to impeach Barack Obama? Which is, does a bear, what in the woods? Yes, and you made the case there for it. And the little back up a little. Our chapter, our Central Florida chapter of Veterans for Peace, 3 days into Obama's presidency, when he sent drone bombers just on his own into Pakistan and killed a bunch of folks, that's a country Bush had not even gotten to yet. One of our members, Tom Santoni, wrote a piece entitled "Impeach Obama!" ! And that was just days into his presidency. And, we came up with the theme, war crimes are war crimes, prosecute Bush, impeach Obama. And I brought that to the attention of David Swanson and AfterDowningstreet.org, which was the hub, during the Bush years as far as the campaigns for impeaching Bush, and just a tremendous amount of work was done by David Swanson and that group, AfterDowningstreet.org, and I thought that they would take this and run with it. War crimes are war crimes, prosecute Bush, impeach Obama. They did print Tom Santoni's article, but that's about the most that happened from it. And then I went to Deborah Sweet of World Can't Wait, World Can't Wait, impeach Bush, remove the Bush regime, and said the same thing. War crimes are war crimes, prosecute Bush, impeach Obama. We've got to stop this madness. And, they politely listened to me, politely looked at the piece, and that was the end of that. Months later, we did get somewhat of, I don't know if it's related or not, but after DowningStreet.org, instead of taking our slogan, war crimes are war crimes, prosecute Bush, impeach Obama, they changed the name from after DowningStreet.org to warisacrime.org, and then Deborah Sweet and World Can't Wait solicited a whole bunch of money from folks to put a big 2-page ad in the New York Times saying crimes are crimes, and which were totally ineffective other than I don't know what, but I tell you, Larry,
that was nothing more. That was nothing more than political cover. That was just a game. Let's be honest. All right. Why would you say, war is crimes are crimes, war is a crime? Fine, we know this. Why would you stop short of saying impeach Obama? Who is the chief executive? Who is the one who is facilitating this? Who has been doing this for the past 4 years? Who has taken what G.W. Bush did and gone light years past what he has done in a worse manner, a far worse manner? Who? Okay, why would you stop short and not say, here's the focal point, the chief executive who is facilitating these things, okay? And to stop short is to be hypocritical, to be unprincipled. No, say the truth. The truth is that this sitting president is a war criminal. He is a war criminal. He has blood all over his hands, and he's trying to dip the American populace. He's trying to dip us into that blood. And by the way, folks, we are under attack. You don't believe it? Read the provisions in the NDAA, the so-called National Defense Authorization Act. Read what those provisions say, that you can be detained, you can be disappeared forever with no explanation, no trial, no judge, no jury. So it's not just Guantanamo. It's not just Pakistan or Afghanistan. It's right here in this country. We have a war criminal sitting in the White House, just as we had under G.W. Bush. We now have an even worse one under Barack Obama. Wrong is wrong, as Malcolm said, Malcolm X, no matter who says it or who does it. And this is where my passion once again erupts. Because when people are unprincipled, how can they be trusted? The fact of the matter is, it's like they put their fingers up into the wind and say, which way is the wind blowing? Oh, well, can I? No, you have to be principled. Hell with where the wind is blowing. We have to do the right thing, the correct thing, the honest thing, the human thing, the principled thing. And I have to say with great sadness, unfortunately, that in most cases, overwhelmingly, the so-called left has been unprincipled. So-called progressives have been unprincipled. We know that the right is insane. But you know what? Insanity, just like war, is insanity. And it can strike on either side of this fake left-right paradigm.
I agree, Larry. That's with this blood right now. This blood that's been shed under the Democrat Obama is on the hands of the left. It's on the hands of the left because he is carrying out the same crimes cited in the left's strong public call for removal from office by impeachment. And for them to this very day to not make that same public call for the Democrat. How can this not be seen as partisan? I mean, it's a joke for anyone outside the cocoon of the left only need apply anti-war movement. You know, and what's his name? The Speaker of the House. When Obama did his shock and awe on Libya, and did not go to the Congress, didn't even bother to go to the Congress. And Obama then said, well, I did go to him, and then Boner said in the press, well, you know, it doesn't meet the straight face test. That's basically what we got here with the left. And, you know, what is keeping Chris Hedges from publicly stating, you know, just 14 seconds to say these words? Obama needs to be impeached for these crimes. These are the same crimes we called for impeaching Bush. And you know, what about Medea Benjamin, who's on her book tour right now? David Swanson, who's been on multiple book tours. Goodman,
who's been on multiple book tours. I mean, the list is almost endless.
We have a caller from the 386 area. Will you give your name, your first name only, and the city you're calling from, please?
Yes, good evening. This is Garth calling from Ormond Beach, Florida.
Hi, Garth.
Hi, gentlemen. Hey, I want to thank you so much for what you do. I know a lot of this is preaching to the choir. My biggest question was, how do we overcome this hypocrisy that just we see in every turn of our daily lives? We're just hypocritical of just about everything in our lives, you know, and that would, we all wish we could wave the magic wand, but mostly we wanted to thank you guys for all that you do.
Well, thank you, Garth. Wow. And well, I do want to say to the listeners, Garth is a member of our Central Florida chapter of Veterans for Peace here, and he's one of the few who's stayed with us and continued to make our organization live up to its principle. But
well,
Larry, do you want to try to answer? Yeah. Do you want to try to respond to Garth, Larry?
Well, Garth, it is so great to hear you. I've heard about you. It's good to hear your voice finally. Look, I just want to say that I think that the magic wand, quote unquote, is us. And I think as difficult and as strenuous, as challenging, and it's all those things and then some, as it is, we've got to do it. It's not a question of will we do it? We've no choice. We've got to do what we're doing. We've got to do it. Everything is at risk here. The planet, our very survival, our very existence. And I want to thank you because you're one of those people, frankly, Garth, who are out there making it real. And as far as
we've got it in every turn of our lives. One of the things I did want to mention is our local chapter of Occupy will be discussing nuclear disarmament tomorrow. And I've been a member of the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation for years and years, too. And it's another, this issue about nuclear deterrence is just, it's another hypocritical turn that we run up against all the time. And yes, I fully agree with you guys in saying that as this country digs its hole deeper and deeper, the more vicious and violent we seem to be getting.
Yes, both internally and externally. Both internally and externally.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I hope that I'm sure you'll be at that gathering. I'm sure you are going to get it across. I like the way you just said about the so-called nuclear deterrent, because that's a contradiction in terms of something like military intelligence.
Exactly.
It is. But wow, thank you so much, Garth, for calling.
Thank you, guys. Garth. I'm going to get back. I'm going to get off the horn and get back to listening to you. Take good care of you guys.
I would like to. Thanks again. I would like to just tag on a little bit more to an answer to this question, what do we do? How do we make this change? And we've got to live it, but stay with it. Like Garth has stayed with our chapter of Veterans for Peace, and our chapter of Veterans for Peace stayed with the impeachment issue. The gang sent me up to Maryland for the 2009 convention, and I introduced the resolution to call for Obama's impeachment for the same crimes we cited in the call for Bush's, and they would have nothing to do with it. 2010, it was once again introduced to the convention, and it failed again. The convention did not pass it, but there was a little bit more of an even balance. Yes, we should be applying the same standard. And after that failed, our chapter co-chair wrote a written resignation to Veterans for Peace, because they would not apply the same standard. But last year, Larry, we continue to make this fight. We continue to stay with Veterans for Peace and continue to say that we have to stick to our statement of purpose and be consistent. We're here to stop the damn wars, too. What happened to that? And it did pass last year. It did pass. And this is just an example of what do we do? Well, you stay with it and you keep at it. And the only way we're going to get out of this hole is to, keep at it. And you do make progress. I'm going to shut up because we're getting close to time, and Dave might want to say something.
Yeah, Dave, we haven't heard from you. Let's hear you.
Oh, you guys just want to hear me say this?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen till people get off their dead ass onto their dying feet.
I know that's right.
And if you're waiting for someone to tell you what to do it for you, forget it. Each one of us has to take a responsibility upon ourselves to do this in any way we can. You talk, you ask questions, you listen. You try to give people knowledge. Giving people knowledge is like trying to give a horse water it doesn't want it. Only thing you hope you do is plant a seed and hope that seed grows real quick.
Yes. It's like I always think, Dave. I think about the example of the prairie fire. And when that sucker starts, woo! Nothing like a prairie fire. But it's the starting it that, and that's what it's all about. The prairie fire, in this sense, fire in this sense being a cleansing process, if you will. But wow, you're right. You're right.
I cannot be silent.
Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Everyone must play a part. Everyone got to go to work. Work for peace. Spirit said work.
I cannot be silent.